the Gibson Flying V. It's one of the all-time classic guitars for rock and metal. When it comes to tone and performance, it's hard to beat these workhorses. Today we're gonna make a modern metal machine out of one of these old classics. You're not gonna wanna miss this. Be sure to hit the subscribe button and give us a like while you're here. This is Trash to Thrash. For more than 20 years, I've been obsessed with guitars. From playing them, to working on them, to buying and collecting them, I've built quite the collection of awesome custom guitars. Now, I'm turning my passion into a profession by seeking out old beat-up guitars and giving them new life, all while trying to make a profit. I'll be searching everywhere for used gear that I can refret, rewire, repaint, whatever it takes to make it a real shredder. This is Trash to Thrash. Hello everybody, welcome back to Trash to Thrash. I'm your host Mark Murray, and today we're giving another old beat up and neglected guitar a full makeover and upgrade, starting with new wiring, a new Crackle paint job, and some other awesome touches. Today it's one of my all-time favorite guitars, the Gibson Flying V. The Flying V was originally designed in 1957, but we're going to upgrade this thing and make it suitable for all kinds of modern metal. Here's the guitar. It's a 2007 Gibson Flying V faded model. It's covered in stickers, and honestly, for this style, it looks pretty cool. It has a real punk rock vibe going. But that's not how Ben, the owner of this guitar, imagined it for himself. He said to me in a message, "I bought it in 2010 as a backup for my white Gibson V. I quit my band and I never used it after that. Eventually, I thought I'd distinguish it from my other V by installing a sustainer pickup so I'd use it more. I also had the brilliant idea of painting it white myself. I sanded it down and applied some primer. I soon realized I was in over my head and gave up, so I just threw some stickers on it. The plan for this guitar will be to give it a brand new Crackle paint job, red, with a black Crackle coat over it. Then we'll install a new pickguard loaded with a Sustainiac pickup in the neck position and a Seymour Duncan Nazgul in the bridge. It'll also feature a Tessie kill switch with a red LED. Then we'll replace the existing hardware with new black hardware, a set of Tone Pros Tune-O-Matic and tailpiece, and some Grover tuners. We'll also do some custom red speed knobs, a black matching truss rod cover, and install a battery box in the back to make 9-volt battery changes a breeze. My assistant Ryan started this project by disassembling the guitar. The first thing will be removing the strings, hardware, and the pickguard. This one was pretty simple. The guitar's a neck through, so the neck doesn't come off. It's just a big solid beast. And the electronics are all mounted on a pickguard, so they just lifted right out. The guitar came into the shop already sanded pretty well. Some spots had been sanded to the wood and needed some grain filler though. Before you paint a guitar, you have to fill the grain in the wood. Wood is porous, and if you attempt to paint over unfilled wood grain, the paint will sink into the pores and the guitar will have an undesirable look with small pinholes in it. Grain filler is like a clear coat you can brush across the raw wood and it'll fill those pores and seal it, so the guitar can be sanded smooth and then painted. Here I'm using Solarez Grain Sealer Filler. It's a great filler that cures via UV in just minutes. So if you work outside, you can brush it on, leave it out there for 5 or 10 minutes, and it should be ready to sand. You can sand it smooth, inspect it, and see if you need to add any more in any spots, and have it all ready to go in just a few hours. Alright, now the body for this Gibson V is starting to look nice and smooth, nice and straight. Got the grain filled, everything's sanded nice and level, and it's ready to start priming up. But as I look over the work order here, I can see that we're going to be adding a 9-volt battery box to this guitar. So we're going to be using a Goto battery box to make it real easy and fast to change the 9-volt battery. I've added Goto battery boxes to guitars before, but this time I actually made a jig so my router can glide real easily and have a real precise hole for this. So we're going to be heading outside to do that because it's a super messy job. Anytime you're using a router, pieces of wood, shavings, and wood splinters are flying all over the place. It becomes such a mess. So we're going to be going out to the front work area to do that. And Goto tries to make this easy on us. They give you this little piece of paper here, the assembly instructions, that tell you exactly how big the hole should be for this to sit down into the body. And basically that's the spot there where this battery box is going to sit. So we're going to be using this template. I'll line it up with these lines that I marked on the body. And the bit we have here loaded into the router, as you can see, has a ball bearing on it. That ball bearing is going to ride on the inside of our wooden template, and the bit's going to stick out through the bottom. So as it rides around on this inner edge, it's going to copy this shape into the body of the guitar. This is what I was talking about right here. Look at that. I'm covered in beautiful mahogany dust. And there we go. It's ready. Perfectly set in there. Now we gotta clean this gigantic mess up, and then we'll bring the guitar back into the shop, prep the fretboard by taping it off, and probably tomorrow we'll get it into the spray booth for some black primer. This guitar is just about ready to spray now, but before we head out to the spray booth, I want to go over the history of the Gibson Flying V. It's a pretty crazy story. The guitar's been discontinued multiple times, but here in 2023, 66 years after it was designed, it's as popular ever, and it's definitely one of my all-time favorite guitars. I hope you guys are enjoying this episode so far. If you dig the shirt I'm wearing, it's available now at GuitarGuts. There's a link at the top of your screen and in the description down below for them. Each sale helps support the channel, and they're super awesome. The Gibson Flying V was designed in 1957 by Gibson's Ted McCarty as part of a futuristic line of guitars. However, due to its radical and unconventional shape, the guitar just didn't sell well. Under 100 of them were initially made and sold. They were discontinued in 1958, but in the 1960s, the Flying V started to become popular with blues and rock guitarists such as Albert King and Jimi Hendrix. In 1963, Gibson built a small run of Flying Vs using leftover parts from the initial run, and they started producing the new Flying Vs again in 1967. In the 1970s, the Flying V saw a resurgence in popularity with hard rock and heavy metal guitarists such as Michael Schenker of UFO and his brother Rudolph Schenker in the Scorpions. In the 1980s and 1990s, Gibson reissued the Flying V with slight modifications, including a more comfortable neck joint and higher output pickups. The Flying V has since become a staple in hard rock and heavy metal music and has been used by countless guitarists, including Kirk Hammett and James Hetfield of Metallica, Dave Mustaine of Megadeth, Lenny Kravitz, Neil Schon of Journey, and even the King, Eddie Van Halen. So many guitarists and guitar collectors love this guitar, and what it really comes down to is it looks awesome. It has a ton of versatility, the neck pickup sounds beautiful, the bridge pickup sounds crunchy, it plays great distortions or cleans. It's a big, solid mahogany beast and can work so well for so many rock and metal styles. It's a neck-through monster, so it has a ton of sustain and resonance, and whether you want to shred some solos or jam some heavy rhythms, it's got you covered. The V's slim neck profile and fretboard radius also make it easy to play fast and precise runs, which is essential in many metal subgenres. The guitar is also equipped with dual humbuckers that provide a thick, crunchy tone. We'll talk more about humbuckers a little bit later. Now, break time's over, let's get back to work. I just loaded the guitar into the spray booth, and it's mounted on my neck-through jig. Since the guitar needed some bodywork, I laid down a few coats of matte black primer to get this finish started. Not only does it lay a good foundation for the paint, the black primer will also let me inspect the body as a single color guitar. Inspecting a guitar with different bondoed sections and exposed wood and sealed wood sections, it makes it harder to tell if everything's perfect. Getting it all one color lets you see how flat the surface really is, and it exposes all of the small defects. After letting it dry for about a week, I lightly sanded the matte black and inspected it. It looks great. Now it's ready for some color. The first color going on will be a bright apple red. I'll do 3 coats of this red before I spray the black Crackle paint on. For a step-by-step tutorial on how to spray Crackle, click the link at the top of your screen now, but there will also be a link in the description. Now it's time to throw some Crackle paint on. Crackle is a type of paint that creates a cracked or aged appearance on the surface. It's applied in 2 steps. The first color is applied as a base color, which will be red for us, and that will be the color of the cracks. The second color will be the Crackle color, and as it dries, it'll shrink and crack, revealing the base color beneath it and leaving a very interesting appearance. This pattern turned out really cool. There are small sections and large sections of crackling, and it looks random, which I like. I let this cure for a couple weeks before spraying the clear, but now we're back in the spray booth again, and it's time to throw on some Spray Max 2K polyurethane clear gloss. I'll usually get about 6 coats out of 1 can. I usually spray 6 coats with 6 to 8 minutes in between each coat. Then I let that cure for about 2 weeks. I'll sand the guitar to start getting it flat because the Crackle has a thick texture, so I'll need to spray a second can on to build up a lot of clear. I'll repeat that process with a third can, and that should be enough clear to level sand and buff it all out to get a beautiful mirror-like finish. There are so many legendary guitarists who played Gibson Flying Vs, but these are the top 5 as voted by you guys. I did an Instagram poll asking you all, who's your favorite Gibson Flying V player? And here are the results. James Hetfield, Kirk Hammett, Rob Flynn, and Dave Mustaine topped the list, taking over 50% of the votes. So then I came here to YouTube and threw up a poll for you guys, taking those top 4 results from Instagram and asking which is your favorite. With over 600 votes, James Hetfield takes it at 43%, Dave Mustaine claimed 39%, Kirk Hammett took 10%, and Rob Flynn got 8%. There were a ton of other great honorable mentions though. I even got a couple of votes, so thanks for that. Here's the original pickguard that I've removed from the guitar before. We'll be reusing some of these components, including these switches for the Sustainiac, and of course the Sustainiac pickup. When we flip it over and look at the back, we can see the wiring is kind of crazy and messy, and this is the Sustainiac driver board. So there's a lot of wires coming in and out of that. Those wires are part of the Sustainiac system with that pickup there. I'll be cleaning up this wiring and replacing the pots. Now we're going to remove all the parts from this pickguard and migrate them over to the new pickguard. The Sustainiac neck pickup that's in this guitar is really cool. It's a pickup that was designed to produce a controllable sustain, allowing for your notes to ring indefinitely without the need for any type of pedals or external effects. It's unbelievable if you've never tried to use one. It works by using a driver circuit to induce a magnetic field around the strings, creating an oscillation that's then amplified and fed back into the guitar's signal chain. So it creates like a feedback loop. The pickup system comes with a circuit board that has a couple of toggle switches built into it, and they allow you to switch between normal and harmonic sustain, and it can be used in conjunction with other effects to produce all kinds of crazy ideas. It's commonly used in metal and different type of experimental genres where sustained notes and high gain tones are often used. The mounting feet for this Sustainiac must have broken off, and it has this plastic plate on it. And I'll fix that by mounting this metal plate that's already tapped for regular pickup spacing to the bottom of it using super glue right now to let it set in place, and then I'll come back and add some epoxy. This Sustainiac pickup is a humbucker pickup, and so is the Seymour Duncan Nazgul pickup we're going to be using in the bridge. When the Flying V was initially released, humbucker pickups were a relatively new thing. The humbucker pickup was invented in 1955 by Seth Lover, an engineer working for Gibson Guitar Corporation. The humbucker pickup was designed to address the issue of 60-cycle hum that plagued the single-coil pickups used on electric guitars at the time. Basically, loud humming was coming through on the pickups. By using 2 coils with opposite polarity and wiring them in series, Lover was able to cancel out the hum and produce a cleaner, more noise-free signal. The humbucker became an instant success with guitar players and is still the most common type of pickup used in rock and metal genres. We're going to be redoing some of the holes here. This pickguard's really cool. It's just a solid black pickguard. So on that guitar, it's going to look really good. We threw a Seymour Duncan Nazgul in the bridge, and he already had the Sustainiac pickup. So that's up in the neck. You can see he's got the 2 controls here for it. And then this is just a layout of what all these control holes are going to be for. So we got the volume here, the kill switch is going to go here, the output jack there, the tone will go here, and the selector switch is going to go here. I haven't actually taken out the bridge pickup yet. So I mounted this whole monstrosity straight into this pickguard, and that's the new bridge pickup. We're going to be taking this one out, desoldering it, and then wiring this one in. And then we're also going to be switching this selector switch and putting in this black selector switch. So on the front of this thing, since it's a single ply black pickguard, that's just going to blend right in, looks super stealthy. And like I said, the pickguard's a single ply, so it's got the bevel on the edge, but it's just all black. We even made, check out this awesome truss rod cover for this guitar. It looks like kind of like the Voodoo Gibson ones from a couple years ago. This is the one from my Gibson Flying V. I have a 67 Flying V from the early 2000s. Exact same model as this guitar that I'm working on here. And we made a new truss rod for my customer Ben. That looks so cool. We started by tracing my Gibson V truss rod cover, and my assistant Ryan made this duplicate cover in single ply black with a slightly beveled edge that matches our new pickguard. We added some countersunk holes, and it's a perfect replacement truss rod cover. Now it just needs a logo. Using my vinyl cutting machine, I made a red Gibson logo that's going to match all the red accents on this guitar. I put that on our new truss rod cover, and look at that thing. Let's see what that's going to look like on the guitar. Dang, look at that. That looks So awesome. Now I'll clean up the wiring on the pickguard, remove the old bridge pickup, replace the pots and selector switch, and wire in the new battery box. This is the battery box we'll be using, the Goto BB2. We need to add a hole that leads from the battery box to the control cavity to run the battery wires. Using this really long bit makes it easier to get the proper angle. Here's where it goes from the battery box, and here's where it comes through under the pickguard into the control cavity. Now I can run the wires and set the box into place. Alright, the pickguard is looking killer. We got the knobs on there, and I just love these knobs that Ben picked out. Black and red speed knobs like that are just... I've never seen them like that, but apparently they're like the ones that are on the Voodoo series by Gibson. We got the black kill switch with the red LED, the all black switch, but then we have this output jack here. When you look at the whole pickguard, everything's got a real dark black and red theme going on, but that stands out, and I can't have that. That just is an eyesore. So I went to the internet to find some black output jacks and didn't find any. If you guys know a source for some, leave it down in the comments below. I'd love to get one, but I do have a bunch of washers and nuts for switches and pots that we're going to search through, and maybe we can find something black in these piles here that'll look good on this guitar. After a couple years of working on guitars, I often have cool parts like these on hand that are in excellent condition. There's no tool markings on there. I actually don't even remember where these came from, but they look great. So we're going to use one of these washers here, this black nut, and I bet you that's going to look way better. And although it's not all black, that looks good. This thing is now complete and ready to drop into the guitar. This guitar has a Tessie kill switch in it, and this episode of Trash to Thrash is sponsored by Tessie. Go check out Tessie if you need a kill switch for your guitar. They have a huge variety of all different types of kill switches, and if you enter GuitarGuts at checkout, you'll get 15% off their already low prices. Now, go get yourself a Tessie kill switch. Now I'm going to do a little bit of work up here near the nut and the headstock. I started by scribing the edge of the nut to make sure that I wasn't going to chip any of the paint out around it. I just used an X-Acto knife for this. Then using a real light-duty hammer, I very gently tapped the nut out with a piece of wood. The new nut we're going to install is this black tusk nut by Graphtec. It's actually made for Gibson guitars. It's already slotted and sized to just drop right in. To get the best playability out of any guitar, you want to have a perfectly set up nut and a properly intonated bridge, and your truss rod must be in check. It was supposed to just drop right in, but it didn't quite fit. As with just about any nut, you'll need to do some fine adjustments. I used the belt sander to make the nut just a little more narrow at the foot. I still got to work on the neck a little bit more, get it a little hydrated, throw some oil on it, polish the frets, get that going and looking beautiful, but I'm still waiting on some parts, so I've got a few days until the rest of the parts are coming. Now I just applied the third or fourth treatment of lemon oil to this fretboard. It's still got that real shiny look because I just applied it, but it is sucking up the lemon oil. So this thing is going to be nice and hydrated. We'll be able to get the frets polished next. Now here I've glued the nut in place, and you can see it's being held on with a clamp as it dries. My method for polishing the frets involves using a fret guard and a Dremel with some metal polish and cleaning up those frets and making them look beautiful. I have a full tutorial on my YouTube channel that shows exactly how I do this, and I'll link it right here and down in the description below. If you want to learn how to polish your frets super shiny in about 15 minutes or less, then you're going to want to watch this video, but you do need a Dremel to make it happen. You know, a question I get a lot from people is, why don't you darken more fretboards? And this is why. I think rosewood fretboards, when they're properly oiled, are gorgeous. Look at the character in that wood grain, and that color is just awesome. For the hardware on this guitar, we're going to be using this Tone Pros Tune-O-Matic and tailpiece along with these Grover tuners. Doesn't get much better than this. Now it's time to drop on the pick guard, string it up and get it set up, but I want to jump ahead on this one straight to the reveal. Sometimes the final assembly and the setup kind of spoil the big reveal, so are you ready to see this thing? Be sure to let me know your reaction in the comments section and hit that like button right now. Here it is. Alright, so what'd you guys think of this beast? Let me know down in the comments section what you thought about this thing. I'm a huge fan of how it turned out. I think Ben has some great taste. Ben actually wrote me a message after receiving the guitar, and he told me a little bit more about himself. He said, "I'm moving abroad this year and had to decide which guitars to keep and which to sell before leaving. I figured I wouldn't have been able to sell it in its previous condition anyway, so I decided to have you restore it to something more useful. I actually found your channel on YouTube right around then. Perfect timing. I was also graduating at the time, so I could justify the purchase as a graduation present to myself." I like the way you think, Ben. I'm a software engineer now and only have time for music as a hobby these days, but I'm very happy with the results, and it's coming to Japan with me. I love to hear that. Another guitar out the door. This one's going over to Japan. One of the few that have left the United States. I think that's so cool wherever they go, so I appreciate you guys watching. I hope you enjoyed the episode. Hit that like button. Let me know down in the comments what you thought of this thing, and rock on, my friends. On the next episode of Trash to Thrash, I'm recreating the ultimate in wild-looking Jacksons, the Kelly Star, and we decked it out. I'm honestly jealous of this build. It's got an LED kill switch, EMG pickup, and even my favorite paint job, alien blood splatter. Be sure to tune in and check it out. Until then, enjoy one of these other episodes of Trash to Thrash, and be sure to be subscribed to the channel and turn on notifications by hitting that bell.